In the summer of 2017, 64-year-old grandmother Linda McAllister was pursuing the next phase of her life. She had loving children and grandchildren, a new husband, a new home, and a healthy bank account. Life was good. That was until July of that year, when both she and her husband Chet went missing. Her daughter found the house was in disarray, and her 2011 Dodge Ram was missing from the driveway. As law enforcement began to piece together what may have happened to the newlyweds, they were drawing closer and closer to the unavoidable conclusion that no one wanted to acknowledge. Could Linda's favorite grandchild be responsible for her death? This is a disturbing story of greed and selfishness that would be incomprehensible if it were not also so well documented. On July 8, 2017, Dara Hodge drove out to her mother's house in Conway, South Carolina. She had received a phone call that morning from a contractor hired by her mother, Linda McAllister. The 64-year-old, along with her new husband William Chet Clemons, were having their home remodeled. But that morning, when the contractor arrived, the newlyweds were nowhere to be found. The sliding door to the home was unlocked. Inside, Dara found Linda's beloved small dogs had the run of the house, and the house was a disaster. The dogs had clearly been left alone for quite some time. Linda and Chet's blue pickup truck was missing from the drive. But if the couple had chosen to drive it from the house, they must have left in a hurry. Calling around, Dara figured out that no one had heard from the couple since July 3rd. They had been missing for 5 full days. Linda McAllister and Chet Clemons had been married for a year. Despite the age gap, 45-year-old Chet and Linda were reported to be a great match, full of energy and always together. Linda had been married before for over 10 years and was the proud mother of 2, Dara and her brother James. She was a grandmother to 11 grandchildren. In the first year of her new marriage, Linda sold her previous home, banking a significant balance of over $125,000. She and Chet chose to go through a remodel to set up their new house exactly as they wanted it. This made sense for the couple. They enjoyed staying close to home. They were not the type to spend time away from friends and family. Concerns over Linda and Chet's whereabouts were relieved when Dara spoke with her daughter Jordan Hodge. Jordan had long been Linda's favorite grandchild. Linda had taken care of a younger Jordan regularly while her parents worked, and they formed a very special bond. Linda's affectionate nickname for Jordan was Little Hodge. Jordan told her mother not to worry. There had been a Clemons family emergency in Ohio where Chet was from, so the two had left the house in a hurry. Jordan was supposed to stop in and take care of the house and the dogs while they were away. It was clear that the 21-year-old was not doing so, but at least Linda and Chet were perfectly well. They would likely return home in a few days. What puzzled Dara was that she was still unable to reach her mother directly. Her calls rang straight through to voicemail. While she reached out to members of Chet's family to check in, Dara also went out to her mother's house to take another look around. When Dara was first inside the house, she had found the television still on, medication that her mother required left on the bathroom countertop, and items generally displaced across the house. When she returned, the scene was even more unsettling. Items had been moved. A pair of Linda's shoes were now sitting by the back door. Her mother's wallet, emptied of all its contents, was left on the bedside table. A zippered bag that usually contained the couple's deeds and keys to their vehicles was missing. Dara called the police and filed a missing persons report. Then she drove straight out to her daughter's home. Perhaps her mother had returned from Ohio after all and had driven straight to Jordan's. Jordan Hodge had recently moved with her boyfriend Kenneth Carlile into a trailer home about 20 minutes from Conway, where her grandmother lived. Making this 20-minute drive, Dara approached her daughter's home. There she spotted Linda and Chet's blue pickup truck backed into a partially concealed position behind the other vehicles on the property. Police were called out to speak with Jordan and Kenny Carlile. The young couple were brought into Horry County Police Station for questioning. Jordan, it seemed, had an answer for everything. Her grandmother had loaned her the truck while they were out of state. She had access to it as well as the house and her grandmother's bank accounts in order to take care of her dogs. Unfortunately, She and Kenny could not let police search the blue pickup truck. They had misplaced the keys. But what's more, Jordan continued to insist that there was no need for concern. Linda McAllister was described by her daughter and closest friends as a hardworking, loving, authoritative, and family-oriented woman who stuck to her routine. Not so, claimed her favorite granddaughter. Her grandmother did as she pleased, including picking up and leaving her house without communicating any of this to her children. Kenny Carlile had a similar story to tell, but he also offered a unique take on Linda and Chet's relationship. Linda's family knew Chet as a sweet and supportive husband, but according to Kenny, this was not the case. Linda was scared of him, he claimed. She was always nervous and shaky. Kenny described Chet as having a hostile personality. He said Linda had told him that Chet would threaten to punch her in the mouth to shut her up. Kenny's exposure to the older couple's marriage would have been considerable. He and Jordan had, for a time, been invited to live with Linda and Chet. The arrangement had fallen apart, however, when $55,000 in cash intended for the purchase of a new hot tub went missing from Linda's purse. She believed that Kenny was responsible for taking it. The court-imposed ankle monitor that Kenny had worn since first meeting Jordan had not gone unnoticed by her family. He told the Hodges that he had a pending assault charge stemming from a bar fight, but nothing more serious than that. They did not approve of Kenny Carlile, and they did not like the person that Jordan was when she was with him. The rift had led to a break in the mother-daughter relationship. Jordan blocked her family and old friends from her phone and social media. She had chosen Kenny Carlile. By the time that Jordan and Kenny sat down with police, Linda and Chet had been missing for 10 days. Investigators seeking to corroborate the young couple's story began tracking their purchases from Linda's accounts over the previous week and a half. According to Jordan, her grandmother had lent her the truck as well as her bank cards between 1 o'clock and 2 p.m. on July 4th. She was meant to use Linda's funds to take care of the dogs. But what investigators found were not withdrawals for dog food. Bank records showed the couple used the debit card to withdraw hundreds from 4 different area banks after July 4th. They were captured via bank security footage driving their Jeep Cherokee and the blue Dodge Ram pickup truck. During that time, Linda had over $75,000 in her bank account in June, but between July 3rd and 13th, over $10,000 was spent by Jordan Hodge and Kenny Carlile. These withdrawals began a full 12 hours before the time that Jordan claimed to have been given the bank cards. And not a single purchase was made for the dogs. On July 14th, the Horry County police impounded the Dodge Ram. Inside, they found a mess that rivaled even the one found inside Linda's house. There were fast food bags, bits of food, and random purchases. When it was eventually returned to other family members, they called it a biohazard. This was not only due to the trash. There were visible blood stains on the center console. A set of brand new floor mats sat in the back, their purpose revealed when the original mats were also recovered with more blood stains. A collection of towels revealed attempts to clean up the scene. Upon pulling back the passenger seat, 2.25 caliber casings were located on the floor. Testing later confirmed that the stains and smears were a match to Linda McAllister and William Chet Clemons. Based on cell phone data, the older couple's last known location was the home of Jordan Hodge and Kenny Carlile. Their house was searched for further evidence as to what had happened to the newlyweds. Detective Calder described the home as in complete disarray. Inside, they found a small 2-shot Derringer gun and a Conway National Bank bag, the zippered bag that had held Linda's debit card and car keys. It was stashed in the couple's closet. Outside, the detectives came across a burn pit containing what looked like a cell phone and a gun holster. Several items within the home appeared to be newly purchased merchandise, including a weed whacker, a PlayStation, clothing, drones, and groceries. In addition, Calder said there was just a whole lot of food. Transactions from the local Walmart revealed where much of Linda's funds had been spent. Surveillance footage tracked the couple's movements over the 10 days. They purchased items including cheese dip, air conditioning units, frozen pizzas, underwear, gaming systems, and hair dye. Each purchase was topped off with another $100 in cash back. But it was one late-night trip at approximately 1:30 a.m. on the morning of July 4th that was of particular interest to Horry County investigators. Jordan and Kenny were captured purchasing a variety of cleaning products.
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video.
Including bleach. GPS tracking from the blue pickup truck had them heading straight from a car wash to the Walmart for these supplies. Before that, the truck had been parked in a nearby wooded area. After the Walmart trip, it was taken to another remote location near the Bucksville boat landing. Horry County police were called out to this area on July 15th after several people reported they smelled a foul odor. The trio of officers discovered skeletal remains around 6:15 a.m. and called for additional support. Police located the remains under a bush. Testing confirmed that these were the bodies of Linda McAllister and Chet Clemons. The pathologist determined that both were killed by a gunshot to the head. The discovery of the bodies was a devastating blow, made even more difficult for the Hodge family when it was confirmed that Jordan and Kenny had been arrested and charged with the murders. At Jordan's bond hearing, her mother Dara asked the judge to keep both alleged killers in custody. Standing before the court, Dara expressed her anguish over what her daughter had allegedly done, treating her mother and her mother's new husband like trash. At the bond hearing, it became clear that Kenny's ankle monitor was imposed on him for more than just a bar fight. He had been out on bond for offenses in North Carolina. In that state, he faced charges of assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill, intimidating a witness, assault resulting in bodily harm, injury to property, communicating threats, and 2 counts each of violating a domestic violence protective order and assault on a female. Kenny Carlile was also denied bond. There were a few delays as the couple was held in custody awaiting the murder trial. Jordan was exploring a defense that claimed that she was manipulated and pressured into taking part in the killing by her boyfriend. She sat down with a psychologist, Dr. Sharissa Christopher, to be evaluated. Jordan told the doctor that she had been present when her grandmother and step-grandfather had been shot, but she had not pulled the trigger. She said that she felt coerced or pushed to help cover up the murders after they had taken place. She had assisted in moving both victims into the blue truck but had otherwise taken on a minimal role in the events. Jordan further claimed that she had suffered from hallucinations. Dr. Christopher determined that Jordan Hodge did not have any psychological issues. She told the judge that she believed Jordan's hallucinations were the result of a substance abuse issue with drugs and alcohol. The doctor stated her opinion that Jordan had sufficient factual knowledge of the proceedings. She understood rationally what the proceedings were and what her options were, and she had the ability to work with her attorney. The judge determined that Jordan Hodge was competent to stand trial. Following the competency determination, the state offered plea deals to both alleged killers. 60 years in prison. If convicted in a jury trial, they faced 30 years to life. They both rejected the plea deal. The case went to trial in the autumn of 2019. The defendants were tried together. The defense made it clear that they would argue against the prosecution's case. They said there would not be one iota of proof that Jordan shot and killed her grandmother. A witness who the solicitor's office requested remain anonymous testified that he sold 2 guns to Jordan and Kenny on 2 separate occasions in 2017. The first a .25 caliber gun in May and a .40 caliber gun in July. Detective Calder testified that Linda and Chet had been killed by gunshots to the head. The gun that was used has never been identified. At the present time, Calder explained, they started looking around and noticed injuries to one skull that had what appeared to be a gunshot wound. Much of the testimony centered around the couple's actions in the days following the murders. The jury watched video footage of Jordan and Kenny, at some point smiling, while they made multiple shopping trips to Walmart. The prosecution showed receipts, including one where the total debit purchase for merchandise was $742 plus $100 cash back. Both Jordan and Kenny declined to testify in their defense. The direct evidence against them, the blood in the truck and the GPS tracking data taken in conjunction with the wealth of circumstantial evidence, Their shopping spree, the lies to family and police, was a damning case. Both defense teams argued that there was no evidence of who pulled the trigger or that either one of them ever did. Indeed, they had never found the murder weapon. The defense asked the jury to assume, for the sake of argument, that they were in the truck with Mr. Clemons and Miss McAllister. If Mr. Carlile pulled out a gun out of nowhere and shot both of them, would that make Jordan Hodge guilty of murder? The defense argued absolutely not. She was innocent when she walked into the courtroom. She was innocent as she sat there at that moment, and she was innocent until 12 jurors became satisfied otherwise. The defense also pointed out that they were not really sure what happened because they weren't there. That's why there were 2 people seated as defendants. That's why 2 people were on trial. The prosecution countered by explaining something that might have surprised the jury. They may have thought when they sat down for a murder trial that there was going to be an eyewitness who came in and said they saw a specific person shoot specific victims with a specific weapon. Well, there was no such witness, and they didn't have to have that. The judge told the jury that they could proceed under a theory called hand of one is hand of all. The case was based on the principle of hand of one is hand of all, which essentially means that if 2 people work together to commit a crime, both are responsible for the acts of the other. The jury of 8 men and 4 women deliberated for 90 minutes. They convicted both Jordan Hodge and Kenny Carlile of first-degree murder. At the sentencing hearing, Dara Hodge spoke about the immense loss that was felt by her whole family by the death of her mother. She was also losing a daughter. While Kenny declined to speak on his behalf at the hearing, his mother pleaded for mercy. Conversely, Dara Hodge asked the judge to apply the maximum sentence for her 22-year-old daughter. Jordan begged for leniency. Both she and her ex-boyfriend were given life sentences without the possibility of parole. After the sentencing, Dara spoke about her mother and the tragedy that had befallen their family. She said her mom wore her heart on her sleeve, and that's why Jordan and Kenny latched on and took full advantage. Kenny took advantage of the heart that her mother had. Dara stated that she was very proud of her sister for asking for that life sentence. She explained that she loved Jordan unconditionally, and her father loved her unconditionally. It was the hardest thing they ever had to go through in their lives. She offered advice to other families. Listen to your parents. At the time of publication, Jordan Hodge is 28 years old and serving out her sentence in South Carolina. Her mother has spoken publicly about the manipulation that she believes her daughter experienced at the hands of her first real boyfriend, Kenny Carlile. Kenny is also serving out his life sentence. He is 34 years old. That was the tragic case of Linda McAllister and her new husband Chet Clemons. A story of betrayal, greed, and a grandmother's love that was exploited by the person she cherished most. Every crime leaves a trace, and we're here to follow them. Subscribe for more real, haunting stories you won't forget.